We are live.
Senate appropriation, April 16th, FY27 budget. Today, we have joint fiscal with us to go through the positions sheet, now the committee discussion, all the different positions that we have in front of us for consideration. Oh, we get a new sheet?
New sheet.
You don't have enough sheets.
We hope the joint fiscal office.
There are no sheet.
How would you like to proceed? I can share my screen. I can just go over the sheet, sort of what's included in the sheet. Again,
If you share your screen, other people can see it. And it really goes online, that's easier for center lines. That's not much better. And would we start with classifieds? Yes, that's page one.
Let's see.
Page number.
Page number, there's lots of improvements on this one. So there are a few more. So first, I'll just navigate you on the left-hand side. We have the B section, the department, the title, a little bit of a note, whether it's from the pool, if there's associated with a bill, the position is from the pool, or if it's new. Don't recommend House and then Senate. Right now, I have you adding all of them, but I think the conversation you're having today is whether or not you will be adding them if there's any changes. And then the chair asked me to identify how much money is appropriated in the bill. I didn't spread it out by anything other than other, either general fund,
Yeah.
and if it's not general fund, it's either global commitment or another special fund.
Okay. So for the committee, we go through these, speak up if you are not, or not extended or not having the budget.
So we can just start off. I don't know if you wanted to go line by line or if you can.
Yeah, let's go one by one.
So for tax, this is a business analyst, and I think there was some conversation past few weeks or past week about this particular one and whether or not.
This is related, I think, to the classification changes that were passed in the Act 73, and since 73 passed, I think we have
Talk about maybe the money going to the bottom line. There was sort of a conversation about that.
Oh, right, because it was 140, but that was the rounding. In. Yeah, so this is the one where we said we wouldn't, on the position, we would just keep the money on the bottom line so that the education conference committees could decide that's where to spend the 140 if it's this position or a different position. Because we don't know exactly what they're doing. That's what but we just have to make sure we keep track and don't spend the money. We'll trust JFO to not let us spend the money. And tax in the education transformation discussion will know that the money is there. Then claim property.
Program tech. This was funded through your unclaimed property. There's no general fund. This one is in.
It's in the house.
The
And I
house.
think this is the one where they asked for two positions and this fund one of them.
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't think it's really fair to say it's no general fund effect because it would revert back around and there is a general fund effect.
You know, it's not general funded, but it does
Appropriate.
impact. You know, it's not appropriated in the general fund, but the more you spend, the less general fund. Yes, they make an argument that with better staff and management, they could get more of the unclaimed property in if there's some compliance issues. I think that's
That almost everybody is.
Yeah.
They're going to save you so much money. I would say my difficulty in all of this is if we do have a downturn and, yeah, we've approved all these positions, you'll be back here going,
We could cut,
I don't get approved, and I'm antsy about the economy.
Is,
yes,
is that a good argument for not converting all of the limited service to permanent?
That I would start from the place that most of them should be right now. And, you know, even to the, we're right at the point in the year where, I don't know what the income taxes are gonna do. Yesterday was the close. I'm at a point where I'm antsy about the economy. And I'm not inclined to want to approve anything except the stuff we absolutely have to now. And if there was some sort of a trigger for a group of things, if we said when the 1st of July comes, we've got, so we don't have to cut anything and we're fine. I would let them go, but I'm just antsy.
Yeah. No, none of the signs are pointing in a positive direction. Global oil and the inflation rate where it is. So
cut the asset markets seem to be going up regardless, but.
Whether rich get richer.
Yeah. I'm okay funding the one, not the actual people. You're proposing not to do it, Sarah Weston, or you just want to make your answers minimum?
No, I'd like to hold I wish there was a way we could hold a bunch and say contingent at the end of the fiscal year, if this happens, they can go, but I don't want to be in a place where, the middle of the, we start the fiscal year and we're sorry that we couldn't.
but Senator Westman, does that mean you want the board to, or it would be an automatic?
I don't have to figure out.
I'd like to have to figure out a trigger, but I don't think, I think this is a good thing to do. I don't have any question that they couldn't, don't need to work. If we were in a place where we were facing cuts, I wouldn't approve this. But I'm not opposed to this position. It's just, it's kind of a no man's land for me right now. And I don't know how to articulate that I'm just, but
This is for Senator Norris too. The one that stands out is the 26 positions for the judiciary.
It's on the other page.
Yeah, so. But that one, I'm going to go back. It's pretty.
and I'm sure that they need those positions.
I mean, they already have them.
Yeah,
We have them, just limited, right?
They were extended, limited. Coming out of COVID, I think we gave us even more positions, but some of them were limited. So we were doing so many that classified at one time. They say that the expectation was that they would always be exempted, but I'm okay. You can present the triggers.
Are we just talking about creating new positions at this point in time, is our concern?
That is our concern.
It is, but I would say this about the judiciary, and I'll probably get into trouble for it, because when we went through COVID and they went through a whole period of time where they shut down the court system, we had backlogs that were huge. We gave them extra positions to do backlogs, and it's hard for me to judge now that we've begun to get a handle on the backlogs if all of those positions are absolutely needed. And quite frankly, if we went into a place where the economy turned down, would we choose to do those positions versus helping work? And I'm, I, for me, I feel like we're in a place where we should be concerned about the future.
We're always concerned about the future. So the question is what is gonna, you have to propose a trigger. But I'm open to the idea of having.
Let me talk to some majority fiscal.
Okay. So I assume that would be your position for the next 4. But you including the VPIC one, I think we kind of have to do if we're gonna meet.
I think we pick one.
Okay, so we'll do the VPIC, but the 3 in SOS, one of them is related to the child care provider license. Is that bill passed to us?
I don't think it has yet.
We pay the light bill.
Did we pay the light bill? Do we want the light? You guys
I don't know,
want the
it's
light
kind of getting a little bit,
Somebody has the power over there.
we're just in the shade.
Yeah, we had to shut the window and next to it.
Not everyone's there.
Then it's gonna jam in like 30 seconds.
Yes.
Okay. So those 3. Feel like the S206 passes, you can't really do the bill without.
Well, if it's past those bodies, I urge you to.
So we kind of would have to, if passes, this is line 6. And I think it says 1 of 2, because they said 1 is going and we need to.
So we're currently going over the classified positions and then the next group is exempt. It's down on the next, grouping.
So that one will, at the very least, has to hold the money that for the bill passes. The liquor and lottery. I don't, this is the investigator. This is the one that suggested to be a liquor and lottery. Liquor and lottery said it should be at DDG's office. I was going to suggest that we don't fund it at this. Need to do that. Disabilities Housing Coordinator, Dale. This is not housing for individuals with disabilities. This is to coordinate adults with disabilities need to fund housing. So we have the language about the HDB, be able to spend some money in this. I have some of the concerns about this. It wasn't something I requested by Dale, and whether this is the best use of funding to help rather have the money to pay for the housing and a coordinator for a position if asked for.
Great question.
They did request it. Dale didn't request it. My understanding was, we need money for this. We did a study. We got some money, look back when we had a lot of one time. Instead of money, create a position in hopes that coordinate. I don't know. Better lines. I don't know if you know any more about this position. Okay, we will.
I'm here. No, I
Okay.
think that position is really very important for putting together the disabilities housing projects that are going on.
I suggest we leave it open for some clarifications. Food Safety Act positions. These are the environmental engineers. A&R.
Typically analysts.
Yeah, we're gonna call them. Yeah, they are. It's not for. It's just environmental. In my budget construct, go over later, you gotta reduce this to one. After just to try to get this thing by balance.
Appreciate
So the one that would be there would still come from. Environmental, salt bill,
So I took a guess on the title because the bill didn't identify a position title.
wasn't there two positions in them? One was that A&R, one was that ARP. This is the A&R, this is one that your committee.
Recommended.
Yeah. This is.
Our does not recommend AMT. Okay. Six consistency. That's,
They would
Yeah.
create, the position would be to create the.
yeah, it's
Okay.
oversee stuff. Yeah. I took some liberty there and suggested it was a new position and not a full position, but that's certainly something we want to discuss. Not that there are any full positions, but
Well, that was gonna be my
Yeah.
question.
I don't think there are any yet. Yeah.
And your gray highlights, Amy, does that have any significance?
Yeah, so for the military, for these next three lines, it's the total general fund for those six positions, rather than breaking it out by, each position,
I see.
summarized.
And there is federal funding in there, you have it in there.
There is a
75%.
Yeah. So assume we're,
bigger number than 147.
folks are clear with this, we're seeing that they're mostly federal funded. Seems so. So that takes us down to 114.
If I may, should that federal funding, I'm just thinking about, the physicians that we hire, should that funding go away? In the, some, at some point in the future, should that? That's
For the
in the
military,
next.
They are limited service, I think, to kind of, to account speech, yes.
Well, I did have a question on this, exactly, awesome. Correct, the UAP, environmental analyst. Is that the program up and running once it is, to just be a limited service position or?
So the idea is that it's always going to be to run the program, which is, parallel to what they do in New Hampshire.
Voluntary program.
For, yes, but to oversee, the program contract.
and this AAFM position is, I think, in the interest of budget, I might have cut this one, the budget and reflected that. Might see it later. And, well, we give them back their. I think I had to cut it down. We can learn more about it. Right now, I think in the budget, we'll see that this position is no longer there. The Diva position, these are again, it's all these positions.
Yes, there's 12. This is in response to, HR one, sort of having to, I don't redetermination is the right word, but, they have to fill out forms to be paid eligible every 6 months now. So they need additional staff to, take into account that work.
Those proposed by the governor.
Yeah, it's $1 million split between, federal and federal money.
I think if we want to keep people on Medicaid and these positions. So is that it? So probation and parole, safe 50. That's 7 positions.
The House did not, so this is a governor's
Oh, right.
proposal, the House did not, recommend. This is related to pretrial, and there is a reduction of the budget for 850,000 general fund.
And this was not in the letter from the governor, because the secretary. And we basically spent this money because the House didn't have it in there.
So my understanding,
It's okay to cut it out.
no, my understanding is that it's not, the work is happening in a couple of areas, but it's not statewide.
Right, 2 counties, and don't forget, 2 Chittenden, because it get more for the dollar after it's rushed. Start that growing. House will block it, money, 50 get you, Crown Center, and $100,000 also grant. They moved to another. And I think they reimbursed some of the private compensation program, and they got pregnant.
So they didn't support the officers at all?
This is for 7 more. But it's not. It's clearly. Project, pilot project. This 3 trials.
Yeah.
You were talking.
Yeah.
So we say we're not arguing with them to do that. And that ethics commission is an exempt position in the state and chief. We got a letter from the ethics commission on why it doesn't fulfill the Act 171 mandate. Totally, because it also requires them to create a new manual and do some work around this ethics manual or handbook. So they felt like the one position that they get here would have them, that position be working on this manual, but they would be ahead as far as doing the municipal work they're required to do, Act 171. So I was just gonna kind of take that out, not have them do the work, so they're kind of held harmless where they are today.
Sorry, so you could keep the position,
Stay the position.
I'll take the position now, oh, I see.
And then also workload. I'll take a workload. Yeah, go. Same. Okay. Closing out, we take out the mediator, mention that there might be. Understanding there are mediators available out there. The federal program was cut, that's true. I tried to go, but and there are things that hire me in Vermont that don't cost more than $50.
Labor relations.
Yeah. The Human Rights Commission. We had talked about this earlier in the session. I would like to start anybody now. I would like to fund. Keep that in there.
In the attempts you've made, did you lower their vacancy savings?
Yes, not all the way to.
Okay, that's helpful.
Oh, HRC, yeah, we did lower there. I was thinking of this.
House, yeah, the House, proposed to, I think, eliminate all of the vacancy savings. They have, what did I say, 9 positions?
They had last year 25,000 vacancies, and that was not like 6,000.
Yeah.
With 9 people, it was like
It's a position for,
yeah.
support, yeah,
Okay, so that fixes the example. Now we have all the positions that are being proposed converted from limited service. Oh, the statutory. I wrote myself a note similar to the other one, like if the bill passes, if that's 206 passes. Yeah. We fund.
Is that? It's over in the House now,
Yeah,
and you don't know. Says.
I know.
I have.
I assume it's doing less. I think it's good.
The positions that are here that are, we can leave out because they won't be needed till next year. Those two for the childcare.
I think there are.
There's not-
Hey. Well, let's confirm that if the bill passes. The limited service positions. To the Attorney General. I hope we can do the home improvement specialist. That's important. I can't remember what the first one was.
We created this last year's bill in diversion.
And is it this? It's limited service every 2 years. Something.
Yeah,
But
I don't
those
know
in-
how long this.
Okay. For those in judiciary have an opinion on them?
That was in our letter.
Yeah.
Get the letter.
Did you get a letter? I don't remember. Take a look. It's funded from this other probably is from the. I assume they wouldn't fund this from the court. From the settlement.
I think this is general fund. I
It's
did,
in the other column.
I don't think I have any dollar amount there. Is there any dollar amount? I don't think I did.
Zero in the general fund at $72,000. For the first one.
Oh, I'm sorry. So for the Attorney General, yes, there's 72,000. Home improvement,
Home improvement is 85.
85, and then judiciary, is the one you're talking about?
The very first one, assistant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think so.
Court diversion and 3 times. Which is not enough money to hire somebody. So we'll leave that
Look
open.
into that, yeah.
So these judiciary requests, 24, not 24, 26 positions in FY 24. Now we're all limited service. They were kind of longer term limited service. They're 4 years, I think. Which wouldn't, or so they're not. If it is 4 years, which is what I was told, then they would be up this year, but they're wanting to try to keep those employees and make that a permanent position. Did you hear talk about this?
Oh, yes.
Do you have any comments?
Other than money is already there, there's, that they need these positions, they need to maintain these positions, which is good, the fact that. It's just the work backlog once again, everything else. Saying, all I try to do is convert to, unlimited to full time positions. So, money is already in budget, so.
You support it?
I do, but I'm on the side.
Okay. No, I'm okay with it.
Why is there 24 converting 24 limited service?
It's in FY 24, but we're converting to 26.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So we already gave them money to fund it. Yeah, it would just be to Senator Westman's point, if there was some downturn and we were in a position to cut limited service donuts and protections that classified for life.
Yeah, for the first 3 years. Then after 3 years, the contract allows them to have the same rights.
Otherwise, so you can't avoid giving them those benefits
Right.
by just keeping them on that. So they would get there anytime.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do that. This is in the position, Secretary of State's office. Similar. Earline's only 83. I assume it's not, that's not the full salary.
I think it was, and it's not it's their salary, but maybe not their benefits.
that.
It's, I just didn't know how to calculate it, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm okay with moving this one up. I wasn't here when the PSD presented their budget, so if somebody else is wanting to go that they want. I had checked the extra quarter ones. Who has it? Isn't that your
Yeah, public service department.
avoid a conflict then?
Yes,
Shut mine.
I. Probably be saying all this. I don't know if I hear this one.
Yeah, the one thing I can remember right now about that position is that it was paid for with like their indirect rate. But,
Well, that might fall in the, but from the indirect rate off federal funds,
Mhm.
to help with grant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if the federal funds that were all put on hold. Some of those federal funds have come back. There's other ones that are still out there in legal limbo, so if more of those come back, they will definitely need this position. Okay, so it seems like it's a business. It's federal money. DOE positions, is this all part of X 73?
yeah, these were all created at 73 for mid-service. General one.
Okay. Agree with the governor there. Okay, anything else you want to say with this sheet?
Or reached out to the Secretary of State.
I'm sorry.
I reached out to the Secretary
Oh.
of State. They said they need a position before he said.
Yeah, got there, that's what I thought. I think you get started.
The bill, that's number 27 as well.
Okay, thank you. My effort. Okay, you can free to go. You're released on your own life.
Free tries.
Okay, so that's position which will affect. I don't know if you were tracking it too. Yeah, we'll tell you later.
Perfect.
So we can either have Brady Nixon do the language, or we can have Center Lines go through a proposal with assistance from. Why don't we do your proposal, Center Lines?
Okay, I
Uh,
think, is Nolan,
Nolan's here, he's gonna come sit up in the witness chair. And he has a handout.
all right,
Do you want to give a preamble?
I will, briefly, as long as my voice holds out and I don't cough. I appreciate your indulgence. So when the committee went through our decision-making, we were very concerned about the loss of primary care over the next year. And because of the payments that are going away as a result of losing the ACO. And the primary care is currently it has a lot of concern for us. We're losing practitioners and we're not able to replace them adequately for a number of reasons, some of which we'll talk about here in terms of the AHEC loan repayment. So primary care, AHEC loan repayment, and then we looked at the reduction, the increase in the Medicaid copays for people who can't pay that amount. We also heard from our healthcare advocate regarding the copays that were existent in other states around us and found that we were somewhat out of line with those states. So we would like to take away that increase that's in the budget. And then uh, those are and then the other ask that we had in our memo was about the Substance Misuse Prevention Fund, which will be will be language. It will not be a money amount. So for going through how we looked for funding for primary care, for AHEC loan repayment, and the, for all the things we're asking for here. I went through the budget and looked for things that perhaps would be we could reduce the amount in the budget. And so, for example, Bridges to Health understood it's an extremely important program. All the decisions that are here are difficult decisions, and they're particularly difficult for our committee and for me in particular. But if we are going to lose our primary care providers, some of these things don't make sense, that won't perpetuate anyway. So for Bridges to Health, we reduce that, and Nolan can go through the amounts with you and what it means by $150,000. The 211 contract for evenings, when we talked with the Department of Mental Health, they indicated to us that those evening calls were really relay calls, and that there didn't need to be. They could have been done by AI. I hate to say it, but it could have been done by saying what the person at the end of the line would have said. This is what I heard from the Department of Mental Health. So, not funding that, going back to the governor's recommend. And then in Dale, there's a really wonderful program, higher ability program, that helps folks who are disabled gain employment. Now, we did not take away the funding. It is currently in the budget as base funding. So by moving it back into the opioid abatement special fund, we're just holding off for a year, that this money will then become base funding. But for 1 year, while we're funding primary care, this money will come out of the opioid abatement fund and be for 1 year only. We also will have language for 951 that expresses our intent to ensure that this higher ability program does become part of the base. Then the next line you see is the co-pays, restoring, going back to what we currently have, and then the AHEC loan repayment, and then going to the provider stabilization, providing funding for our various community services is critical to our committee. I know it's critical for all of us. Well, I did go look at that and took some funding away this year, not all of it, out of the provider stabilization to use as match for primary care. And then also knowing how critical Meals on Wheels is to us, and knowing that we also had recently increased that, identified a portion of that could be invested in the what we're asking to be funded through primary care, AHEC. And then finally, the one that's most difficult is the CVOEO day shelter that's in Burlington. It's was added in by the House. It's something that we had wanted to fund last year. In fact, in the BAA, we did put some money in for it. I'm I'm after seeing the request for new money in the budget, I'm honestly hoping that we can restore some of the funding that I'm saying to take out. So, but for the time being, remove the funding for the CVOEO day shelter. we are doing a significant amount of work on our GA program in 938, and perhaps we can figure out a way to support this shelter in that area. So that that is some of the discussion about each of these um, decisions to I find funding for primary care and restore AHEC loan repayment and not eliminate and not increase the Medicaid co-payments. And I'll let Nolan talk now because I'm about to lose my voice.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Bruce.
Just Jenny, before you go,
Yep.
just a question about the 211. My sense was that that was one of the ways that homeless folks in the evening could access shelter. Is that something your committee talked about?
It we did not talk directly about that. I know that 211, we did have them come in and testify. And excuse me. So when I talked with the Department of Mental Health, the commissioner, it was very clear that the evening phone calls are very limited in service. And the result is that many or most of the time, it's a suggestion to call back tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, Noel Langle, the Joint Fiscal Office. The only thing I'll add is that in the governor's rec, he was eliminating these PMTM payments to the ACO. And when we met with the ACO, they said, well, we are ceasing operation in July, so we will not, they currently, my interpretation was they exist for the sole purpose of giving out PMTM payments and nothing else at this point. And they will cease operation. So as Senator Lang just kind of think about what's another mechanism to get this money out to providers. She settled on sort of reconstituting a program that used to exist called the Primary Care Case Management PMPM. It was a program that existed years ago, and then it sort of folded in blueprints. So to be sort of using that mechanism that the administration has used in the past, and it's still Medicaid eligible. So it'd be just the way instead of going to the ACO to get these PMPM payments, it could be just sort of reconstitute the program that used to exist.
Did we have a whole year where it didn't exist, or this was?
It sort of folded into the blueprint, so it sort of melded it at some point along the way. So it never didn't exist. It just sort of got folded in. So this, and the reason that it doesn't just, it's not just increasing blueprint payments is because not every practice is a blueprint practice. So this ensures that non-blueprint practice primary care will also get these payments. It sort of doesn't get specific on how the program would specifically get implemented. Sort of leaves them to DIVA to get their payments out. Oh, and the last thing I'll say is that just like that ACO payment, this isn't a one-time box, not base. So there is some conversion of base payments and one-time cuts or reductions to pay for this one-time program.
It would be 4.5 million one time.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Songs of praise? There was been your okay with this reduction in meals and meetings? I haven't mentioned it. That would be like the primary care payments. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So when we see the spreadsheet later, these numbers will not be in there. We accept the underlying proposal, we'd have to make some further changes. Because none of these things are on. Right. Any comments? And Thanks, Nolan. Unless you have anything else, I think we should know. Okay. Now we have Mr. Nixon. And did we, oh, you do it. You have it?
Yeah, I do have a handout, our grading next joint fiscal. And then Senator Lyons had a number of language pieces. I don't know if now is the time that Senator Lyons wants to go through those.
Are they all related to this?
Yeah, that packet is Senator Lyons's language.
Are they related?
Yeah,
One,
So,
Yeah, I had, 6 language recommends. I don't know if you've gotten them all from Ledge Council.
the packet that I put together, I think maybe has 4 of them. And then 5 you'll see in the second packet that I go through.
Okay. And I don't know about the PM, the payment per member per month language that's needed.
Right. I
It's,
don't.
you may not have that one. You should have all other 5.
do you have this other language from Center Line?
Yes, so that has 4 of the 5 pieces, and then a 5th is in this other packet.
Do you want to go through her first?
Sure, if that works for some Lions.
Go ahead. Did you ask me a question?
Yeah, she did, and you answered.
Okay, go ahead.
He's working on something. Maybe to share his computer.
Thank you.
So 3 of these 4 language pieces that Senator Lyons has relate to replacing sections that are in the current version of H951. And so I'll do my best to go through those and then defer to Senator Lyons if there's any questions on these. This first one would replace House Section E329 with a new Section E329. I believe to achieve a substantively similar end goal. So the House had language adapting the same language that was used for the Allward-Wyman report relating to hospital transformation in the Green Mountain Care Board. And this language recommends instead to convene a stakeholder working group to ultimately present a plan on January 15th, 2028 to the relevant standing committees on developing and conducting a data-informed, patient-focused, community-inclusive engagement process. So it relates to the same subject. It would just push out the date that such a draft proposal for the engagement process is due and actually establish a working group for that rather than just loosely directing Dale to engage with various stakeholders.
Okay.
And honestly, the discussion is ongoing. This relates to conflict-free case management, but there's so much conflict about the right language. I don't know what that means anymore. All right.
Okay, so that looks okay.
On page 4, so this would be replacing House Section E316. The original language here was a repeat of the rateable reduction extended language that resulted in the report that was released about 5 years ago. This language just is essentially a simplification of that. So it still would require DCF to submit a report, but the language itself is now just pared down and just directs DCF to submit to relevant standing committees a report with including any inefficiencies or gaps in REACH-up phase plan that estimates the amount needed to remove the rateable reduction and any recommendations for legislative action.
Okay. Next one.
Section E313 would replace the House section E313. And this would include school-based prevention programming in the substance misuse prevention special fund.
It does what?
It adds for the purpose of funding substance misuse prevention programming, including school-based prevention programming to the allowable uses of the fund.
And is there actual? This expands the use, is there also a corresponding use of it? Takes advantage of this change?
I haven't received any money proposal relating to this.
All this does is try to make clear what fund is used for.
But it's not like a change because somebody wanted to use it for this and they said you can't use it for that. And like, okay, let's not change it, but we can.
No, I think, speaking for Senator Lyons, unless you want to talk to Senator Lyons,
Go ahead, Nolan.
the channel Senator Lyons, I think she wanted to make it clear, she felt that there has been a lot of talk about using this fund for a lot of different things. And she wanted to make it clear that it would be used for these purposes.
Okay.
Thank you. There's really no good definition in the statute regarding the use of the funds. So this clarifies it.
Okay, thank you. Seems fine.
And then the final piece, which relates to Senator Lyons' proposal, states that in FY27, funding for higher ability Vermont would be through the opioid abatement special funds, but the legislative intent would be that in future fiscal years, funding for higher ability Vermont come through the general fund. I believe it's workforce training for those with disabilities.
Yeah, Higher Ability is an organization that the state contracts with to support people to find employment with folks with IDD or folks who are difficulty moving from high school into employment. This is specifically directed for the DALE program for people with disabilities. It's been very, very effective, funded through the opioid settlement fund and should continue. So hopefully, even if it's back in the opioid abatement fund, it will become part of the base in the future.
This is the third item on the spreadsheet. For E332, the proposing moving 0.875 back to the opioid fund. Per se, but next year means okay.
Agreement.
Intent.
Yeah.
Intent.
If we let it, or whoever's here next. Okay. Grady has another fact.
Can I ask a question? So Grady, I did also send in, we did take testimony from Polly in FEHCB, and we did recommend the use of having VHCB identify funding for housing for those with disabilities. And I did send that. I thought you received that, but perhaps not yet. It's probably the same as what Economic Development sent in.
Yes, so that language will be in this next packet we're going through. JFO and multiple members of Legislative Council were all contacted to draft that same language. So it was floating around in a couple of pieces, just ended up in this packet. But yeah, that would be the fifth piece that Senator Lyons has.
Thank you.
So on page 1, this is the first of a couple of pieces relating to the sweep of the remaining money in the state case reserve fund. So You'll see here a transfer of about 61,000 from that fund to the general fund.
Okay.
And on page 2, this would be the repeal of that fund. And beginning on page 3, and continuing on page 4, there's just one reference to the fund in statute, so this would just be language to remove that statutory reference to the base fund.
Okay. Yes, there was.
I want to make sure that, because we do have a commercial pace bill moving through the process, and some of the commercial pace, some it's S3, 138. I want to make sure that whatever's in that bill doesn't get wiped out by whatever's in this. You know, like it's referencing some pieces of the residential pace language. So I just want to make sure that there's no conflicts.
That's 131.
138. So fully support this. Just want to make sure that one doesn't make the other.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Is there, I'm seeing it.
Because and intentionally so.
Right. That's-
Yeah.
Okay.
But if this section is referenced.
This, all of these pieces relate to a recommendation from, I believe, Senator Watson about sweeping the money in that fund, so this would just be back into.
All the pieces.
What we just talked.
Just one.
Yeah, yes.
1 through 4.
Yeah.
Yes, not the entire packet.
I don't know what else.
Yes, up to page 5, that was just relating to base funding. And then some of these came from the chair, and then some of the recommendations from JFO.
This is couch cushion.
On page 5, this would just, this would amend language in prior year appropriation to allocate 2.54 million of an $11 million appropriation to the Department of Public Safety for a grant to the Central Vermont RPC for the Capital Region Communication System Upgrade Project.
This is being discussed in 276, as 276 in the. Oh, no, this is in the emergency response bill 935, H 935, which is next door. We're taking testimony of this money mark.
This is dispatch.
This is dispatch. This would be the first chunk of a statewide integrated system, which was worked on when you were on go out.
Page 6, this is what's sort of become annual fee report language. So the Joint Fiscal Committee, or Joint Fiscal Office rather, works with different parts of the administration each year to put together a report on existing fees. And so this is next year's version of the fee report. This would be JFO working with state entities in the human services and natural resources space to put together the FY27 fee report. The only thing I would flag in terms of any substantive difference in this language as opposed to prior years is that JFO would be responsible for actually compiling the final report. The current system results in many scattered reports, and so this would just result in us actually putting together one final report.
And does this put up a system for the future years as well, of which sections will get a fee review?
No. So each year we just update this language and
Okay, for the next year.
exactly.
Okay,
I do remember seeing some.
Yes, that's for the special fund report language you saw last week.
but there is like, the idea is that every 3 years, each fee gets looked at. So you-
Right, so we keep track of it and make sure that we cover each function area of government in a really 4-year cycle. On page 9, this is recommended tweak to the, HUD Section 8, Public Housing Authority language that was added to the budget adjustment. So you'll see on page 10, there is a reference to a date that already passed. And the public housing authorities have not received the information that is being requested of them. So this would update the language to, instead of having these requests be tied to a calendar date, it would be tied to when they actually receive information from HUD on their actual FY26 funding levels.
Okay.
On page 11, this is the fifth piece of language that Senator Lyons was discussing. This would update prior year appropriations to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, allow for 10 million of this prior year appropriation to be used for those who need supported housing, or to create housing for individuals eligible to receive Medicaid funded developmental disability services.
Okay, that's fine.
On page 12, this was a technical request from the administration that I believe the committee has already seen. This would be adding in one of the sub accounts to the cash fund into the allowable use for this quote unquote ERAF cure. And so this would just make it technically accurate to the actual privilege that was used for this.
Okay. Gotta do that.
Page 13. This was a request in the treasurer memo from Monday.
Page 13, I mean 12. Well, you might have a little different.
Oh no, sorry, that was the one I just went through.
Okay, so pretty decent. Page
Oh,
14.
we're on page 14. Page 14, in the budget adjustment, a $3 million appropriation was added to ensure that the aid act for the Vermont Teachers Retirement System would be funded at 100%. This language for the treasurer memo on Monday would also allow for this money to be used to ensure the same for the Vermont Employees Retirement System.
It was just brought to us by the treasurer's office or by the union.
You by the treasurer's office.
And we want to do that.
On page 15, this is a legislative council update to language relating to rulemaking authority for the State Ethics Commission. This was flagged in the technical letter, and we had leg council update the language. So this would be the technical correction if the committee decides to keep any of the State Ethics Commission language.
Okay.
Page 16, this is the Land and Facilities Trust Fund changes. And on page 17, this is a requested update from the chair. So this would change a shall to a may, and then specify up to 8%. So that the treasurer may distribute from the fund up to 8% of the moving average of the market value of the fund. And then it adds in substantively similar language to what is in the Higher Education Endowment Trust Fund statute to protect the purpose of the fund. So up to 8%, provided that that amount not exceed the current principal of the fund.
That prevents them from
Dividing
turning into. Right. Okay. Okay.
On page 20. So this is placeholder language that would allow for the inclusion of any further changes or language relating to education transformation. This has a similar mechanism has been done in years past with the Pay Act when there's outstanding policy work done that may intersect with the budget. this would just be language to ensure that anything that would need to be added to the budget to make it in line with education transformation work would be germane to the bill when it arrives for the committee conference.
But we still have to account for any money, it's, but this, it's like a preemptive germane then. Paragraph, like, okay. Then the part of the area.
Page 21, the House has a current section E103 amending Act 73 appropriations. This tweet for Legislative Council of the JFO would just strike as contemplated in this act independent updates to ed transformation work, and then on page 22, the highlighted language would also be struck.
I like the language to be struck.
Yes, so I didn't remove it because it was added. It's not in the bill currently, so the change would be that this language wouldn't appear at all. It wouldn't be actually struck.
It's not in, it's in the existing statute. It's in with passing next step.
This language was added in the House version of this language, so if it were removed, it wouldn't appear at all.
So where did this desired factors from?
I believe it's a technical update from Legislative Council working to conform this language with ongoing ed policy work.
It seems like a policy change.
It seems like
A policy change.
it does, on 22.
Yeah.
I may,
So right now, this is in the statute. This was part of Act 73. And we're now saying
The highlighted language is not in Act 73.
House added.
The House added it, and this relates to preventing the Agency of Education from issuing grants until new school district boundaries have been enacted.
but then I agree, it's policy. Why is JFO saying that we need to strike that from their bill?
I don't know. Do you want to talk to them?
I think we should get, Beth is busy right now in the house.
James?
Yes, Beth St. James. I think part of it though is because, so this language as it originally existed was in Act 73. So all of the other language that was in Act 73 would apply to this section. When you amended the budget, it then sort of then any of those references that would have been in the original Act 73, it kind of breaks that link. So you need to amend the language in Act 73 when it gets amended in the budget to make sure that it still ties to the original intent in Act 73, if that makes sense.
If I understand what you're saying, it's the thing we're trying to changes, but eliminating this sentence, it's a prohibition. So if we eliminate this,
We're eliminating the agency shall prohibit part or
Yeah,
part of
right, so then it is a policy decision that's going to be opposite.
We'll get in touch with that.
Okay,
Well, we'll need more information on.
Can I ask a question of clarification?
Yes.
So this would be a policy decision that would amend 73 or be consistent with 73?
Be consistent with 73, but to reverse the amendment that the House wanted to make.
So, okay. Oh,
The House made this change.
yeah.
The first change, I think, is technical, since the act was passed. This one, it seems like the House wanted to prohibit the agency from doing these grants before the boundaries enacted, which might make sense, but I don't know.
I understood. I'm just wondering why there may be a different language that accomplishes the goal that it seems the House would like to accomplish.
but even.
That's a policy decision,
Yeah,
and there's a whole lot of other policy
I don't know.
pieces mixed in.
Even repeating it, if other language exists, would be a policy decision.
Yes,
Yes.
So
we want to know what education thought about it.
I want to know what the intent is underlying.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to sort of make sense. You don't want to give them a grant before you know what the boundaries are gonna be. Because this section is about merger grants. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Transition grants. So it sort of makes sense, but we'll just want to make sure we get all information. Everything.
Oh.
Did you complete your mission rating?
I believe so.
Mission accomplished. Do we have any other proposals from committee members? They want to present today?
Ours is on the tape.
Okay. And you want to, so it's the same one, you want to reiterate it again?
Sure. This is the proposal to take $15 million in the governor's recommend, but allocate it differently. So there's going to be $12 million to the stadium project at UVM, 2.32 million for freedom and unity grants, 600,000 for the shovel-ready plans for the McClellan housing project. And then to make up for that diversion from the fund, it takes 20% of the remaining 70% of the excise fund tax from cannabis, plugs it into the higher ed trust fund going forward. So it would repay the 15 million in 3 to 4 years, and then it would continue to build the corpus for scholarships thereafter.
I'm willing to put this in the bill. I have my concerns about taking money from scholarships, but I appreciate the effort to repay the money back to the general fund. So in a sense, it's general fund money over time. That's how we're funding.
It is, and to the point about scholarships, if this were to pass as written, it would mean far more scholarships than already be available on the grants. Once you get
Yeah,
past
as fund keeps going. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. It doesn't take away from scholarships. It does in this year, but it remains the
Right.
for the fund. So.
I don't think I could support it if we didn't have, we pay Senator Norris.
Yeah, I too have concerns about the moving as it has to be some big factor goes through some language changes, obviously, under 60, 20, 85, whatever it is. F says that all balances in fund accounting and fiscal should be carried forward and used only for that purpose set forth in its sections. Earnings and fund are not to withdrawn, so it shall remain in the fund to not address it.
Right. I assume that Grady has an outstanding language draft.
As long as funds being paid back, I think. With notwithstanding language.
Yes, sir.
Feeling okay about it. I would love to, I've had some conversations about that if it was in the capital bill, prevailing wage requirements would be, associated with that construction work, and that's something that I'm interested in.
Grady has a language. See that in the picture on the next topic of language. See that in there. Which, because that's the language that normally any capital structure project has that language in there, so it's similar, so makes it that language. Okay, everybody's okay with putting that in the next. Yeah, okay. There's no other proposal. I'm gonna suggest, yes.
I certainly just want to go back to my original proposal with the fee bill here.
For the fee bill?
While eliminating the fees.
Oh, yeah,
Large farms to be first, then $235,500.
Yeah.
Which the House had in there, the other had in his budget. So remain adamant about that, obviously.
And I will say Senator Norris has brought me around to his way of thinking.
on everything, or do you think it's one?
Just on that. Put a break around everything.
Okay,
Farming communities over there.
Yeah, I'm pretty supportive of that.
okay. Like that, so we will, the next version will have the 231. From the general fund back to AFM, so they don't have to pay, they don't have to charge the fees at the large and medium farm. There, no milk tax.
No milk tax, right? Yeah.
Something else, Bob?
Well, this is a different topic, but I'm still thinking about, pay act related
Right.
issues, and I mean, I'm open to suggestions about what would be palatable, but I'm interested in, like, again, just, I'm thinking about, the fact that we're in a difficult budget year. If you're making more than $200,000 at this point, feels like a lot, and can we forego some pay increases if you're over that level? And that would apply not just to the government, but some, other, and particularly just for, exempt, positions. I don't want to interrupt any, collective bargaining, agreements. But, and thinking about the fact that there may be some people whose actual received pay is lower than what the ceiling is. So is there some found money to be had, even just by making those things match? To say that the ceiling, if the ceiling is not being used, then what can be done to bring that down to match what's reality?
Yep. So you're one.
Senator Lyons proposed to resolve the meeting. Just discuss these separate. I'm not totally clear about 211 and what that does. I probably need a little help.
Yeah, and we're still gonna go through the whole sheet for that one. So we'll see that in there again, so we can highlight it there. Better, right?
And I do plan on talking with this. That it comes to positions and say there was a treatment.
We're good. Yeah, we're talking more about that. I noted something. To your point, Senator Watson, I did ask JFO to talk to HR about how we can look about the formula that's caused this kind of wage expansion between the high exempt and the average classified.
The compounding issue.
Yeah, and like, but because it's based on formula, so it's not, nobody has to make a decision on that. It's just like automatically that percentage and the 1.9 equivalent of the steps goes to the percent. They don't always get it. The Commissioner of Finance Management can take the whole pot of money and decide kind of where to apply that amount of money, but that's what you see on the base salaries is just automatically increased by that. So I think it's leading to this expansion of the gap between the difference instead of a wage compression that I'd like to see, or it's always steady. So we were going to ask HR to look at that. Come back from next pay out, but if you have other specific proposals.
Well, I'm wondering about that as well. And when we ask HR to look at that, I assume what you're thinking about is not necessarily something that would be
This would be
embedded
for
in
next
this.
year.
This would be for next year.
So that we don't continue on that path without thinking.
So I may come back with some proposed language about what I was discussing and happy to talk more about it.
Okay, good. Okay, so I propose we take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back in here and do the final run through of the sheet that I created for your.